Good. That seems like the right button. Hey, welcome everybody. I appreciate you joining me. This is Jim Tanner. Welcome to Millionaire Monday. This is our second week of April coming together on a Monday, and the chat is open. Just a little bit of housekeeping so you know. We've got it set up so you can't turn on your video, so it's not an issue or a glitch. That it's set up that way intentionally. It's also set up so you can't unmute yourself, because we're just going to keep all the distractions to a minimum. As you can see, I've already got my screen loaded. So probably either you can't see me at all, or I'm just this tiny little speck in the corner, because I want to get into the material with you. But I'd love to see who I've got here with me live. And if you could, I see it's already happening in the chat. Just share with us where you're joining us from. I make my home in the suburbs of Boston, Massachusetts, what we call Metro West. And we're back to baseball season, so I'm comfortable saying about 15 to 20 minutes west of Fenway Park for the baseball fans in attendance. I see we've got Amy from Massachusetts. I know you, Amy. Rochester, South Carolina. Welcome, everybody. Atlanta. Oh, Michelle, you're in Atlanta. All right, get back up here to the north. We're going to need you up here. Let some more folks in. Welcome, everybody. Appreciate you joining us. Michigan, Lenore, welcome. Appreciate you being here as well. We're going to get right into this here in a moment. I just want to give everybody a chance. Dan, welcome in Texas. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate you being here. And we are going to be getting started here in, well, about 30 seconds. I'm going to dig in to the training. But for those of you that either joined us last week or you watched the replay because you couldn't join us last week, just put a 1 in the chat if you either were with us last Monday for Millionaire Monday or you caught the replay since. Great. So we got some folks that were here. Last week, we were talking about how to develop independent associates so that you can have a team of people that moves away from you. Now, not literally moves away from, not like runs away from you, but that is independent, that is operating independent so that you can continue to build your business, live your life, take care of your family. And so for those of you that haven't had a chance to catch that one, the replay is available on YouTube and it's posted in the Agents of Change Facebook group. All of our friends in New England, where I serve as the network vice president, have been invited to these meetings as well. So for those of you, the link is in the New England Facebook group, and wherever you're joining us from, whether it's all the way across the country or you're my next door neighbor, I'm glad you're here. And today on Millionaire Monday, we're going to be talking about duplication, the elusive, magical thing that you have to have if you want to build the big Legal Shield business. Like if you want to build a coast-to-coast business, a business where you have independent associates that are operating their businesses independently, but they're doing the right thing so that the business continues to grow, then you need this thing called duplication. Now, you don't need duplication for those of you that are watching, that your focus is on selling the product. You don't really need duplication if you're not building a team. But if you are building a team, you want this thing called duplication. And duplication is like what you see on the screen. It's like gears. It's like you move, but you move in a systematic way. And you, as the gear that creates the motion, you move all the other gears just by your behavior. And this is behavior. I want to make sure that I don't go fast on this. I want to make sure you understand what I'm about to say. Just like you're the gear, the behavior, that you're the powered gear. You move, and the behavior of your movement creates movement in gears, an ocean away. I mean, just all the way across the country. And you have people you don't know are doing the thing that they're supposed to do because you're doing it. That's duplication. But this will make more sense as I get into it here. But what I want you to have, if you're following me here and you want this information, we're here to talk about how to join the ranks of Millionaire Club members. I want you to arrive at that status in your business with a team that's a team that you're proud of, you're happy for, and that gives you joy, not depletes or drains you. And as I talked about last week, the reality is that you will have a small business if you can't master creating independent associates. Because no matter how good you get at duplication, if the people are not independent, that's why we started with independent last week. If the people are not independent, it all just comes crashing down. So last week we established the best language to use, the best practices to use to teach people how to get answers for themselves, to feel supported by you, but also to feel independent as adults moving in their business. And this week we're going to talk about what is that activity? What is it that you're doing that is duplicating throughout your organization? And remember, I'm starting with you. So duplication, you just have to understand it starts with me. You can't fake this. If you want a business that runs on its own without you, now that's not going to happen instantly. You have to be committed to running the business and being the example until it gets to the point where it doesn't need you. And by the way, you can start making money right away. So I know a lot of times people hear a training like what I'm talking about some delayed gratification, and they start thinking, well, I need money right now. I'm not talking about money right now. Every time you sign up a new member, that's a commissionable event, and you get money for that. Every time someone on your team signs up a new member, that's a commissionable event, and you get money on that. Plus, you're often triggering bonuses for yourself and for your organization. So we're talking about getting paid all the time, but while getting paid, earning money, building your business, you're also setting in motion something that creates ongoing passive income, regardless of what you do in the future. I've told some of you this. When my daughter was born, this was a while ago now, she was about to turn 8, but when she was born, other than staying in performance club qualification, other than being plugged into some conference calls that our team was doing, I did basically nothing for a year. We had set it up that way. That was my intention. I didn't know if it was going to work out like that, but it definitely did. And in that year, I earned more money from my Legal Shield business than I earned the year prior. And that to me was proof that following not just what works, but what duplicates is the true way to go. I'm going to be talking about Dave Savula tonight. That's one of the things I'm so excited about, is sharing with you Dave Savula, because so many of you never had a chance to sit under his learning tree in a small environment or even see him on the big stage at our international convention. But I just want you to know, whatever we're talking about today, I'm going to keep coming back to this. It only duplicates if it starts with you. So you have to take full responsibility for creating the environment that you want to be in. And I'll say this about this, because I always talk about one-hit wonders. And I said, you can't fake this. You have to be committed to running your business. So be aware of what you are building. And I'll also say, because I'm going to tell you the truth, I'm your guy who's going to shoot you straight. Be careful who you take advice from. Because while some people might talk like they're building a real structure with a solid foundation that goes deep into the bedrock, then that extends high into the sky. They might be talking a good game, and then only you find out later that their advice really is how you build a castle in the sand, which certainly is not going to last. Now, today, there are so many people enjoying, 30,000 people right now enjoying residual income from this business, getting residual income checks. I want that to be you. I want that to be the members of your team. As we move from $1 billion company to a $5 and a $10 billion company, we are going to take with us the people that are most committed to doing what works the right way, by thinking long-term and by doing the things that are the right thing to do even when nobody's looking. So I want you to build a real business. If you're with me and you want to build a real business, I'm about to dig into the how-tos. Give me a number 1 if you're ready for the how-tos on how to set your business in motion so that it has a deep foundation, deep into the bedrock. It's not going anywhere. You can't rock it. An earthquake's not going to do it. A heavy wind's not going to do it. It is here. It will stand the test of time. Just like our company has stood the test of time, your business can as well. And I see some ones. It sounds like we're ready to go. And I see some other names here. So welcome to all of you that I didn't get a chance to welcome yet. I appreciate you being here with me live. So we're going to get into what is really the blueprint of duplication. And it's the 10 core commitments. So I'm going to talk to you today, not about what the 10 core commitments are. Well, let me back that up. Yes, I am. I'm going to talk to you about what the 10 core commitments are. But that's not really a training that's going to be helpful to you. I could give you a PDF of what you're seeing on your screen. That is what the 10 core commitments are. But I'm going to explain to you why this creates duplication in your business and allows your business to move away from you so that you can win at the highest level. And that's what we're going to dig into today. I'm going to talk to you about some best practices around all of the 10 core commitments so that you can make the most of this business. So I want you to understand that everything that you want other people to do in their business, in your team, everything you want to duplicate, you have to do it. To honor it, it starts with you. I can't really explain why it is, but your team will know if you're not doing these things. I'll tell you about my sponsor. And I knew what things he wasn't doing. And it didn't take very long before I stopped listening to his advice because he wasn't following what we knew, what we'd learned that all of the people that were winning were doing. So you'll see that there's a yellow box over number 3 and number 4. This is your lock box. And we're going to talk about why number 3 and number 4 are the engine that drives your business, the growth, the financial aspects of your business, the growth of the team, which of course financial. So you got membership sales that you grow by recruiting more people into your team. And that grows the membership sales because now you have more people marketing memberships. Well, number 3 and number 4, I'm going to come back to those and talk about them, but you're going to see they're highlighted on this training throughout. But let's start with number 1. Start each day the right way. This is really personal development. And for some of you, if you're just now coming to this business, you might be in the same situation I was when I got here. I was 28 years old when I got here. The first time I read a book, it was when I came here. The last time before that was 10 years prior in high school. So I was 18 years old. I was in high school. I read books because they told me I had to so I could graduate. A decade later, I lived my whole life and never read a book. Never listened to great audios, didn't know who Jim Rohn was or Bob Proctor or Zig Ziglar or any of these big thinkers, inspirational speakers. I never read the books. I never heard the audios for a decade of my life. Now, here's the issue, is most people will get a lot further in their life. Some people make it to the entire end of their life. I mean, I've talked to people in their 60s and 70s, and they've never heard of Zig Ziglar, and they've never heard of Jim Rohn, and they've never heard of Bob Proctor, and they never got the words. But you and every member of your team can radically transform how you think and how you perceive situations, what is a problem versus what is a challenge, how you can attack things from different angles just by reading. And as you can see, we break it down here in our company to 10 pages a day. It's not a book a day. It's 10 pages of a good book every day. And it creates an ongoing rhythm of personal development. Now, imagine what that is at the end of 30 days, just 30 days later, that's 300 pages of a book. At 10 pages a day, that's 300 pages. That's about a book. Maybe it's a little more than a book, depending on the size of the book, right? But a person that writes a book like that typically lived 20, 30 years of their life to have the experiences they put into that book. And we don't have to live the same 20 or 30 years. We don't have to make the same mistakes over and over again. All we have to do is read in 30 days what took them 30 years to figure out. That is leverage. And I just want to make sure that you understand this, because it starts with you and I, right? If we're not reading the books, we're not going to promote reading the books. If we're not listening to audios every day, we're not going to promote listening to audios. If we're not making goal boards, dream boards, as some people would call them. And I've been really lax about this during the pandemic, but something I've realized, and I want to make sure I talk to you about this, is that Legal Shield exists in the real world, in the tangible world around you. Now, I know it's weird for me to say that while we're here together on Zoom, and I've got 3 screens and chats and stuff going, and these lights on the sides of me. I was just talking to Chris Corley today about how frustrated I am about all of the stuff we've accumulated over 3 years, which was absolutely necessary during the pandemic, apparently, that we all be in our homes and be apart. But those days, we have to start thinking in terms of those days being over, because Legal Shield exists in the real world. Now, we held it together in that virtual environment, but Legal Shield wins and grows and breathes and flourishes when we're in the real world. So I want you to think about that when you are making a dream board, for example, or a list of goals, because it's really easy to put it in our phone. It's really easy to put it in the notes section. And that's something that I'm quick to do. Like I'll put something in the notes section of my phone. The problem is I'll forget all about it until the next time I go into the notes section. Sometimes that could be months later. See, it's not in the real world, but when it's on the wall, when you have to walk by it every day, I want you to think about this. If you've ever recruited somebody and then you find yourself that they were somebody that was really attached to you, you're talking to them every day, they were excited about the business, and then their excitement waned, and maybe all of a sudden it was hard to get a hold of them. Wouldn't it be great if they had already made their list of how they wanted their life to change, about their dream car? Maybe for them, like me, my dream was just to have a car that started every time you turn the key without having to say a little prayer first. but maybe on that dream board, on that list, if it's on the wall, if it's on their desk, if it lives in the real world around them, it's just a little bit more likely that it's going to impact them on the days that we can't touch them. Because we all work from our own homes, we all work from wherever we are, and to pull this team together in virtual environments is a challenge. But wouldn't it be great if your team members had on their wall all of their dreams? So they had to pass it, they had to confront it. Wouldn't it be great if you and I got back to doing that? And some of you are doing that, and some of you, like me, have to get back to doing that. Putting it where you can be confronted by what you truly want and have it in front of you every day. So starting each day the right way, and you can see when you pull this sheet, there's a breakdown of bullets. It's things like planning your day in advance, the 10 pages of a good book, 15 minutes of a good audio, stuff like that, that really makes an impact in a compounded way over the weeks and months into the future. As a matter of fact, it changed my whole life. Like I said, I had never read a book in the 10-year period between high school and coming to this company. And then only a decade later, I had written a book. And most people never even do that. But because I had consumed so much knowledge, because I had realized that real people were living real lives and that I could learn from everything that those real people did in their real lives, I started reaching out to authors, telling them how their books impacted me. I found out that they got back to you often. Some people did. And I started to develop relationships with authors, and they became more real to me because not only did I have their books, but I had their communications. It became two-way. And of course, many of you know Steve Millionaire, who wrote 30 Ways in 30 Days. He impacted me so much because he had written books, and he had written that book. And so many of you have read that, and you've had great experiences from that. But then when I talked to Steve Millionaire about my book that I had just in my head, I hadn't birthed it yet, he was so supportive. And then he would check up on me, and he would say, "Are you writing? You got to write every day." And he would give me advice about things he learned about writing. So you start to surround yourself with people that are going in the direction you want to go. And it all starts with the books you read, because then you have the vocabulary and the language of the millionaires that you're going to be surrounded with as you go on this journey. You want to read the books they're reading, hear the audios they're listening to. And how do you know what that is? The great thing about this company is it's recommended. They give it to us freely. They don't keep it a secret. Now, one last thing I'll say about number one, and I know you're thinking, listen, if number one's taking him this much time to get to the point, we're going to be here for a while. It's not true. We're going to move quickly through a lot of this material, but here's why I drive the point home of core commitment number one. Put in the chat if you'd like to have in your organization the next Brian Carruthers, or the next Darnell Self, or the next Elizabeth Gardner, or the next, you name it, those big producers, the people on the stage, the $1 million a year earners. Just put in the chat, just be honest. I mean, maybe some of you don't. Maybe you'd rather not override a $1 million a year earner in your downline. Maybe you don't understand the comp plan or why that would be a good thing. Okay, well, here's the thing. For those of you that are interested in that, when you look into your team as it exists today and the people you're going to recruit in the coming days and weeks, and you don't see Brian Carruthers, and you don't see Darnell Self, and you don't see Elizabeth Gardner, the reason you don't see them is because you're looking for who they look like today. See, if you had the ability to know what they looked like when they walked in the door, what they sounded like, what they dressed like, how they behaved, what you would see is a tremendous similarity to everybody in your team. Now, not everybody in your team is going to become $1 million a year earner. They're going to fall out for a variety of reasons along the way. But what I propose to you is that the people that could be the next one are in your team. They just haven't been developed yet. Nobody shows up to this business fully developed. It's very rare. Now I'm going to bring on into the conversation Mr. Dave Savula, who came from another company, having been the top earner in that company, and came to Legal Shield, and he absolutely was coming in fully developed. But that's a once in a lifetime situation. The majority of the stars in this business became stars as they grew in this business. And you can have those people in your team right now. So that's start each day the right way. I want you to think about that. How can I be better about that? How can I be more proactive about planning my day before I go to bed, reviewing it, and executing on it when I get up? How can I make sure that I'm listening to the audios, that I'm reading the books, and developing that habit so it duplicates throughout my organization, so that 30 days from now, my whole organization has read a book that they wouldn't have read. And a year from now, my whole organization has read 12 books that they wouldn't have read, if not for the 10 core commitments. Let's keep going. Staying connected. So I want you to think about this. I want you to picture in your mind, if you can, for me, a boat. You're in a boat on a still pond. And on this still pond, you're paddling your boat and you're heading towards the dock. And the dock is within sight. It's a calm, beautiful day. You row up to the dock. You get out on the dock. You walk in the back door of your house, into the house, make yourself a sandwich, and then you start on your list of chores for the day. You get in your car, you go to the grocery store, you do the things you have to do. When you come back and you realize that you hadn't tied the boat to the dock when you got out of the boat and walked in the house, what do you think the odds are that even on a calm day, that the boat is going to be right where you left it? The odds are pretty low. And the reason I think about that is, and let me ask you this further question, what about if it's a stormy day? What if it's a windy day? What if there's a big storm that passes through? Where's that boat going to be? Well, that's kind of what happens with us and our teams, because there's calm days in our lives where everything goes perfect. And even on those days, if we're not moored, anchored, tied to the business, we can drift away. And when chaos comes to our lives, people get sick, things happen, people pass away unexpectedly. All of that stuff happens in our lives, right? And on those devastating stormy days, we can get so far away from our business that we could even forget that we were in it in the first place. With the benefit of 19 years looking back, I've recruited people today that say, you know, I was in the business 20 years ago. And I'll say to that person, well, what happened? And they don't really have an answer. They say, well, you know, I just got busy with other things. That's the storm. And the way that you keep people tied to the business, even on those stormy days, is that you get them plugged into what's going on around them at the team level, at the company level, plugged into the Facebook and other social media accounts so that they know what's going on, making sure that they're using their membership, because that's the most powerful way you can anchor somebody to the business. Because even when they drift away, if they're using their membership, they're staying plugged in to what we do. They understand the mission of the company. They're getting great value from the membership. And those people are the most likely to find their way back. So you got to keep people plugged in. It's not enough just to recruit them. Remember, nobody shows up here as Brian Carruthers or Darnell Self or Elizabeth Gardner. We develop them here, and part of developing them from stage 1 to stage 2 is plugging them in. Because not only do we want them to read the books of the great authors and the great thinkers, we want them to hear from the great producers, the big winners in our own company. And they're going to get that when they're plugged in. We want them to know what it is that you and I are so passionate about the membership. We want to make sure they get their will done and that they're using their plan. They've got the mobile app on their phone, that we treat them, even though they're an associate in our business, we treat them like any other customer in our business. And I'm going to talk about that when I talk about retaining your members at number 8. But just understand that your associates in your team are also your members, and you can treat them well as members and keep them connected to the membership. And how about you? Remember I said, let me go back. I'm going to go back because I don't want anybody to forget. It starts with me. You can't fake this. It won't work. If you fake it, you will be found out very, very soon. You've got to use your membership. You've got to get your will done. You've got to make sure that the app is on your phone. You've got to have stories. Listen, you don't have to have 7 stories on day 1. When I got here, I had already been a card-carrying member for a decade. I came in bulletproof on my belief in the membership. I might not have believed in me. I wasn't even sure that the company was really going to send me money when I sold a plan. None of that mattered. I believed in the membership, and I was rock solid. Now, you don't start that way, but you develop that by using your membership. And here's the thing. You know why I keep saying it's about you and that you can't fake it? It's because we have this thing in our company. It's called integrity. And it's almost like there's an invisible integrity filter. Now, just stay with me because I know this sounds wild. But I just want you to imagine there's this invisible filter over our business that prevents people with low integrity from ending up here in the first place. Now, occasionally people slip through the filter. It's not perfect. So we get some carnies and other folks that, you know, should really be doing something else. They slide in every once in a while. But generally speaking, the people who make it through our process and join us and get busy doing this business with us are people of high integrity. So what people of high integrity won't do is tell someone else to do something that they're not willing to do themselves. And that's the real reason that this whole thing crashes down. Now, people with low integrity try to fake it, but then they get found out because the white hot light of truth at Legal Shield shines on them and they don't like that. So they go away. But the people with high integrity end up with small teams as well because they don't promote the things they're not doing. And because they're not doing those things, they're not growing. And because they're not promoting those things, they're not getting duplication. So their business crashes as well. So you got to use your membership so that your team will use their membership. Now, let's get into the lockbox. Who's ready for the lockbox? Let me just get a number one. If you're ready for me to get into what it is that's in the lockbox, let me see some ones here. I'm going to take a sip of, you can also guess what's in the mug. No, don't do that, actually. Some of you are wildly inappropriate people. I hang out with you and I know how you behave. All right. Dave Savula. So Dave Savula, some of you had the opportunity to be at events where Dave Savula spoke. You know, you don't know how lucky you are until you realize that some things aren't forever. And Dave Savula and Bev are no longer with us. But I got to tell you about Dave Savula so that this whole thing makes sense. So Dave Savula, now he joined the business before I got here. He was a pillar of this Legal Shield community before I came to it. So he was like one of these people that was just what it is to be Legal Shield, like Harlan Stonecipher, like Wilburn Smith, like Ken Moore. There's Dave Savula. And here's Dave Savula's contribution. He joined the company and he had been a top earner in another company, another home-based business. Now, again, this was all before my time, so this is secondhand knowledge to me. But he had been a top earner in another company. He came to our company, and I remember we didn't have a network model in the beginning. We had a sales model, and the company had tested a network model, which was allowing us to grow faster. And Dave Savula came in because he believed that he could add value with all of his experience as a builder under the Legal Shield network model. And so he came in and he quickly became the #1 income earner. As you can see on the screen, he was a Diamond Executive Director. The level called Diamond didn't exist. They made that because Dave Savula reached it and they wanted to come up with a name for it. So they came up with Diamond, and he was actually a multiple Diamond level the computer doesn't even calculate to those levels. They just made them up for Mr. Savula. A $1 million ring earner doesn't even begin to describe how much income he made per year. It was in the multiple six figures per month. He was the #1 money earner. Here's what Dave Savula did. Because the company didn't have a system of weekly meetings, and he, having been a builder, understood that that was something that needed to happen. So Dave Savula started crisscrossing the country and set up the weekly meeting system. This is what I'm saying to you. We used to get on calls on Wednesdays, and Dave Savula would tell you where he was going to be. And it was 3 or 4 cities, just depending on his schedule. He also coached football for his kids, and he did a lot of things besides Legal Shield to contribute to his community. But he was on the road. He was setting all of the meetings up. He was finding local leaders to run the meetings. And he would tell you where he was going to be a week out so that you could recruit into the meeting that Dave Savula was going to be standing in. And we were organized. And here's what he did. He went across this nation. He set those meetings up. And this, I just pulled this from his team's website because I knew that you would know some of these names. And I thought you would find this interesting. Like Thomas Owens, $300,000 ringer. And I'm going from the bottom up. Melissa Peters, who we all love, $300,000 ringer. These are all in the Savula organization. Brooks Workhauser, Brian Parker, Karen Lemire, Don Thompson, the president of Legal Shield, $300,000 ring earner in Dave Savula's team. Larry King, Krista Offenberger, Jason Lavender, Larry Smith, Michael Dorsey, Mark Brown, Nick Serba. And this, I just stopped just to, because at 300, when I dropped down below 300,000, there were so many people on those pages on their website. I was like, well, I think they get the point. I can't put all of these ring earners. It was pages and pages and pages of people earning the rings. So what did Dave Zavula set in motion that today, even though he's no longer with us, continues not just to sell memberships, this organization continues to grow. You know, I always talk about Wilburn Smith. Wilburn Smith, you know, when he passed away, I always talk about this, he passed away and his business continued to grow after he passed away. He's been passed away over a decade. It continued to grow. Same thing, he set duplication in motion. But I wanted to just drive home the Dave Zavula story because he went around the country and set up the meetings. And I'm going to talk to you about something very special that maybe you haven't come to appreciate yet. Some of you have. So let's get into the lockbox. This lockbox, number 3 and number 4, this is Dave Zavula's system. So he didn't invent the 10 core commitments. He invented 2 presentations a day and a weekly meeting. And this is all he taught from the international convention stage in front of 10,000 people. This is what he taught in small rooms. Bill Sheridan and I saw him in a room with 20 people in Syracuse, New York, where they were having the weekly meeting, and he came in and he did the presentation, he did the briefing. He was the guy in every video of the briefing. He was the guy in the audio cassettes of the briefing. He was the person doing the briefing all over the country. And so when they wanted a video cassette of it, they shot a video of him doing it. Later, when it was DVD, it was him. You understand what I'm saying? He was the guy. He came up with 2 presentations a day. And see, our 10 core commitment says exposure, and that word is a very confusing word because people think that means sending someone a text and saying, hey, go watch this video. That's not what Dave Zavula meant. When he talked about 2 presentations a day, he was talking about the presentation, like somebody saw the front to back presentation. And in his case, he was always teaching in those early days. We did it with a brochure. And later we had a flip book, but it was a physical document. And we had a rule, never talk about this business unless you're pointing at a tool, meaning you have a brochure that they can be looking at while you're talking, or you have the flip book and you're doing the presentation. That was our rule. I know this is old stuff, but the foundation of what you have to build is built into the old stuff. There's no new stuff that's better than the old stuff. Now there's new ways to communicate faster. And we get that often confused with having new ways to build the business. But there's no new ways to build this business. There's just new ways to communicate so we can build it faster the right way. So 2 presentations a day. By the way, I just have to say this because I know that a whole bunch of you are distracted by this question in your mind that you want me to answer. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. It doesn't matter where you find the people. You can buy leads. I don't care. Whatever. You can run an ad in the newspaper. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. But you have to do something. This is where being an entrepreneur comes in. Like all that entrepreneur stuff where we want to reinvent the 10 core commitments or show everybody how we're going to do it. Use that energy. I hope everybody's getting this. This is coming from love. Can I just get a number 1? If you all know that I'm teaching this because I want you to win. I'm not mad at anybody because I'm starting to hear the way I sound, and I want to make sure that I got you, and I've got you in the proper energy. Okay, because I want you to win. And you know what? I'm watching people spin their wheels, and I do get a little frustrated. And I'm watching people say the business doesn't work, and I want to scream from the mountaintop. It does, but what you're doing isn't the business. It doesn't matter where you find the people. Whatever you got to do, run a billboard. I mean, don't do that. But you know what I mean? Like, I remember all the dumb ideas I had on where to find people, and some of them were so dumb I never even did them, and some of them were dumb and they worked for a little while. Like, you know, there was a time, don't do this today because it wouldn't work, but there was a time when Craigslist was new, the internet was new, and you could run an ad on Craigslist for free, and you get like 30 people to respond to that ad in a day. Well, guess what? Out of those 30 people, you could get 2 presentations done. And that's the kind of thing that explodes your business. It's finding a way to get a list of people so that you can do 2 presentations a day. Fact is, most people are not doing 2 presentations a day. And it's not because they don't want to, it's because they don't know who to do the presentations for, because they don't have a list. And so we tell people, make a list of everybody you know. And some of us do it and some of us resist it. But I don't know if I'd be in this business today if I didn't make that list, because Bill Sharon was on that list and he joined me. And then he was like dragging me, even though he was in my downline, I sponsored him. He was like the more adult grown up of the two of us. And he's like, we're going to do this and we're going to run. And man, it was just so great. I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know if you'd be watching me on the Zoom today if he had said no. Maybe, but we'll never know. But it's 2 presentations a day. If you're laying awake at night, if you've been in this business more than 2 weeks and you're like, how am I going to do this? I see these people making this money. How am I going to do it? That's the thing you got to lay awake at night and solve. The problem you're trying to solve is not how do I get more people fast start qualified. It's not how do I get more. It's not how do I become a Millionaire Club member. The problem you have to solve is where am I going to find the people to do 2 presentations a day with? Now, Dave Zavula would tell you, stick your hand out. That's what he taught us. Stick your hand out, walk down the street, say hi to somebody, start a conversation. I acknowledge that Dave Zavula was one of these incredible, kind, warm, genuine, outgoing human beings that could do that. And I make no excuses for it, but it's just, to me, I get debilitated just thinking about doing the business that way. But some of you are like my friend Bill. Bill's never met a stranger. You walk in, and some of you met him in Charlotte and you felt like you've known him for a decade. That's Bill. And that's why he's done well in this business. And that's why we took off quickly in this business, because I had him. So I want you to understand, like, you just have to solve the problem. I don't care where you find the people, but don't give up on the business because you haven't solved that problem yet. So what is it? It's 2 presentations a day. And then it's attend a weekly event. This is the lockbox. Everything else is to make you a better person, more personally developed, more plugged in. That's what the duplication factor of all of these 10 steps are, is just to get more and more and more of the right thing, to get more honed and more polished. But without number 3 and number 4, it all falls apart. Number 3, of course, is how you generate business. All right. And number 4 is the meeting. And this is why I wanted to talk to you. Okay. This is why we need to have this chat. Dave is not with us anymore. Here's what happened with COVID. 2020, I hope this isn't boring. I just think you need to know. 2020, March of 2020, we all did what everybody else did. We stayed home and wondered what was going to come next. And then 2 weeks became 6 weeks. And we wondered what we were going to do next. And then we didn't know what was going to happen. And all of a sudden, we're living in this world as business owners with more questions than answers. Not fun. The business that I've been saying to you since we started lives and breathes in the real world, not on the internet. The business that lives and breathes in the real world, all of a sudden, we couldn't do it there. And some people pivoted so quickly. My friend Kevin Palacci, who is the network vice president for Connecticut and New York, pivoted immediately. This is a man that had weekly meetings set up around his state. He had Super Saturdays going. Boom. They didn't miss a day. That day, they did their weekly meeting on Zoom. I didn't know what Zoom was yet, but he was on top of it. And that's how he's run. He just made the pivot. Boom. And what happened was 2020 into 2021, now we're not having our weekly events in person. We're not having Super Saturdays in person. All of a sudden, what's happening is we're coming together over the internet, and we're just grateful to have something where we can come together. We're grateful we can have something to bring a guest to. And people were sustaining their businesses, recruiting, selling memberships, of course. 2021 into 2022, we think, and I'll just talk about this for a second. I might have I don't want to be too particular with the dates, because I'd have to look at like things like Delta and Omicron to know the story correctly. But it got to the point where we're like, we're back, baby. It was after that, people started getting vaccinated and stuff. And so we're back, baby. And then what happened was we planned this big event, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Some of you were there. We had like 300 people in the room. And then we had another 300 or 400 or 500 people on Zoom. And I was there. Mr. Darnell Self was there. Pat and Christine Manning were there. And so many others. Big. We just rolled in every speaker because we hadn't been together in so long. We were just like, boom, let's do it big. And then right from there, we thought we were back on. Like, this is it. We're back in person. And then it was Delta and the news and everybody's afraid again. And then everything stayed on Zoom. 2022, January of 2022. I remember they were saying, this is it. We're going back to live events. And then it was Omicron or whatever was next, whatever we were afraid of next. And then nothing happened. And then finally, in the fourth quarter of 2022, I met, and all of the network vice presidents and the new ones that were appointed, I took over a role. We met with Don Thompson, and the decision was made that we're going to relaunch this business January 1. And that's what you saw happen. 50 markets, 50 Super Saturdays. And we've continued on that path ever since. And we just came into our first international convention in the 2023 era. We're going to continue to do those things. But the reason I'm telling you all of this is because we don't have Dave Savula to rebuild these meetings, but we have you. We have me. We have all of us. And we get to put these meetings back on the map. These meetings were in every market, large and small, across most of the United States and Canada. I mean, it was incredible what he had started and gotten into duplication because people were starting meetings and growing meetings. I remember in 2018 going on a Ring Earners tour around the country, going to cities I'd never been to before, seeing these meetings and all these people that I've met along the way, and seeing how they set up their meetings in Detroit, how they set up their meetings in Northern California, how they set up their meetings in Wichita, Kansas. It was so cool. And then, so all of that went away, and it went away for long enough that it went away in a way that it can't come back as quickly. But we need to set these meetings up because meetings work. And today, the meetings are not necessarily the rigid hotel meetings that they once were. Today, these meetings are more casual and fun, and they were never necessarily needed to be in this modern era the way you learn about Legal Shield like they were in the old days. But today, there are ways that we come together and learn that there's other people that care about my success and your success. There's other people that are focused on the mission of the company and the vision of our founder. It's not just me sitting in my house. So we need these events. And that's why this lockbox is so important, because the cadence of 2 presentations a day and a meeting every week is what builds your business. See, over 7 days, that's 2 presentations a day. That's 14 presentations per week. And what happens is, now I understand that most people aren't doing this because they don't have the weekly meeting. But if you have the weekly meeting, if you're in Colorado Springs, you got Sonora Danza. If you're in South Carolina, you've got Venus Powers. And I should not have started that list, but I just know that both of them are on the Zoom with us. But you know what? If you're running a local weekly meeting, put it in the chat, as a matter of fact. Or if you're going to a weekly meeting that you love, put it in the chat. Promote it right now. Let people see it. We got to build this map back up. None of us can do it without all of us. Like, I'm going around the country. You guys see my schedule. Nothing like as ambitious as what Dave Savula is doing. But I'm going around. I'm sharing the message, the passion, the belief in the membership, the opportunity, everything I feel. I'm getting that out in real rooms everywhere I can. But there's only one of me. I need all of us to do that in every local market. So let me get back to the cadence. So the cadence is, because often I talk about this on the month, and I don't think you don't understand it the same way. It's a 7-day cadence, because at the end of 14 days, here's what happened. Some people signed up, some people didn't, some people were flat out not interested, some people were interested or put you off. But because you have the weekly meeting, you can bring your new associates to the meeting, the ones that said yes and joined. You can bring your guests to the meetings, the ones that you did the exposure for, but they didn't join, and you grow that meeting from week to week. And this could be a Panera Bread or a Starbucks in the back. It could be whatever you want it to be. I mean, just bounce some ideas off of us. We're going to say yes. There's no requirement. You don't have to ask for permission to start a meeting. We need meetings. So you're going to grow your meeting from week to week. This is how you get yourself Performance Club qualified every month. This is how you get your team Performance Club qualified every month. This is how you have a team of people that are making money. And I just want to say, I want to be delicate about this. There's more to this business than just getting someone paid and promoted or fast start qualified, okay? Like, that's good, but I think the message gets a little bit messed up there. Okay, so let me be clear about this. You want people to get paid and promoted. You want people to get fast start qualified. These are good things, but it's getting them engaged in the correct behaviors that actually lead to success, called duplication, for you and for them. Okay, for example, let's say you're a new associate. So let's say you just bring me onto the team. Okay, I'm your new associate and I'm not following the system. I don't have to follow the system. I could just go to 3 of my cousins and say, listen, I need you to do me a favor. I need to get this bonus. I just started this new business. All you got to do is sign up for this membership. It's $29.95 a month. You don't even have to keep it if you don't like it. You just sign up for it. And then, so I get 3 of my cousins to do that. And for one of them, I get them to join me in the business. So that's 3 in 1. I'm fast start qualified. I got a $100 bonus. I got paid and promoted. I got a certificate. They're saying my name on the meetings, but I didn't do the business. I just did something that got me the bonus. You see the difference? That's building a house. That's a sandcastle. That's a terrible thing. And by the way, we have people that don't know any better, so that not only are they doing that, they're teaching their new people to do that. So you don't want that, because yes, they got paid and promoted, but they didn't learn anything. So fast start, as far as I'm concerned, fast start qualification, performance club qualification, those are the rewards of doing this weekly cadence. They are not something to be like manipulated, or you move some stuff around and see what you can get. Don't do that, right? Do this business the right way. Do it the right way when nobody's looking. So this is the cadence. You bring your new associates to the meeting. You bring your guests to the meeting that didn't join. You grow the meeting week to week. So all of a sudden it started with just you. I know, I've been to coffee shops by myself. Coffee with Jim, which is what we're doing here as a meeting here near my house, is basically me. And then once in a while, Jim Fletcher comes. So it's coffee with Jims, plural. That's good. But we haven't yet had anybody not named Jim show up. But if you just do the presentations, then what's going to happen is you're going to find people. Now, some of you are thinking, well, what about presentations in other markets? Yes, building in your local market is easier because you can have people come to you. You can go to them. But also you can build this business crisscrossing the country. You just have to be a little bit organized. You have to know what you're doing, because what's a presentation? You could be doing a presentation across a cup of coffee with somebody, right? This is a presentation, but you could also go on Zoom and do the same thing over Zoom. It's not my favorite idea because you can't really feel what you feel. I mean, I know you guys are feeling me, but I'm working hard to make sure you do, that it's just coming through the camera. But that's harder. You could play a video for somebody. That's a presentation, as long as they watched it. And I don't mean they played it and left the room, but they actually watched it. That's a presentation. What if you had 2 people? Watch this. What if you had a Zoom that, let's say your upline executive director is putting on a Zoom today at 9 o'clock, and you have 2 people on that Zoom. It was one presentation, but you had 2 people watch it. That's your 2 presentations for the day, because 2 people got the whole presentation. So I don't want you to think you got to quit your job to do this either, which is why 2 presentations a day lets you recruit people part-time, spare time, full-time, anytime, slices of time, which means you can build a big business. Because if you want duplication, what you want is a large group of people doing a few simple things consistently over a long period of time. A large group of people doing a few things consistently over a long period of time. So you don't want people to have to quit their job to do this. I didn't quit my job to do this. And if you are approaching this where everybody has to quit their job to do this because it looks complicated, maybe because you look stressed out. You're over here talking about how you've been on the phone for 40 hours this week. You see what you're doing? You're messing up what it is to be in this business, and then it won't duplicate because the people are like, I can't give 40 hours to this to make phone calls. I don't have time for that. But who can do 2 presentations? Who can invite 2 people to the same presentation? Anyone watching this, anyone you recruit can do that. Will some people spin off and go do business solutions? Of course they will. I showed you in Dave Savula's team. He was the master of duplication with the lockbox. He didn't call it that. I'm calling that for your benefit. With 2 presentations a day in a weekly meeting. That was what he built. That is what he honored and he protected. But it still shot off some of the best group producers in the company history. That's where Don Thompson made his $300,000 ring. That's where Krista Offenberger made her $400,000 ring. So you're still getting business solutions people. You're still getting ladies of justice people. You're still getting 40 under 40 people. You're still getting everything you want, but the duplication machine finds those people, and the people find their place where they're going to belong inside of the company. I hope that makes sense. So a presentation is whatever you want it to be. And then a meeting right now is whatever you want it to be. Go have cocktails at happy hour, have coffee in the morning, go and you know, I mean, I've done so many things traveling around. We've done Topgolf, we've done bowling, we've done all these things. Go show people that you can have fun while you do this business, that this business doesn't have to be a sacrifice. It doesn't have to take you away from what you love. It gives you more time with the people you love. It gives you more time and energy and focus for the things that matter to you. Don't present this as something where it takes away from everybody. Present it as something where it gives back. And that is, remember, the goal is duplication, not just doing what works, not just recruiting people. We're so often caught up in how many people did I recruit? Am I in Performance Club? Performance Club is the result of 2 presentations a day consistently, weekly meeting. So 7 days, boom, 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 day 7, weekly meeting. Then it's back to 2 presentations a day, weekly meeting. And over the course of the month, not only are you Performance Club qualified, but some of the people on your team that are following your lead are as well. And that's when you get a team doing it. Now you have associates doing 2 presentations per day. And your new associates are bringing their new associates to the weekly meeting. And your new associates are bringing their guests to the weekly meeting. And that's how you get to a point where you can't have the meeting where you were having it. When Bill Sharon and I started in the back of the Denny's, we couldn't stay there for very long. We were disruptive and we just couldn't be there. We outgrew it. Then we went to the sheriff's office where they had a community room, and we outgrew that to the point where we had to ask the people who were manager and above to stand outside of the room so that the guests and the newer associates could sit in the front of the room. And then we outgrew that and we went to a hotel. You want to have that problem, by the way. That's a great problem to have. But everybody's so worried about how to start a meeting with 30 people or 40 people that they never go to coffee with one. It all starts with you and somebody else. So that's the lockbox. Now, here's what happens. When you start that cadence, you'll talk about it, you'll promote it, you'll have success, you'll want to celebrate it, and your team will build off of your confidence in the system, because if they believe that you believe in the system, they're far more likely to follow the system. If you're off the reservation, if you're doing some other wild thing that's not the system, you might be recruiting people and you might be in Performance Club. You might be the top recruiter in the company, but it won't last. And I've seen people get exposed over and over and over again that yes, they know how to recruit, but they don't know how to create duplication. So let me take you to number 5, because we're climbing towards the top of the hour and I'm going to wrap this up. Number 5 is the Super Saturday. So with the weekly meeting cadence builds into the monthly Super Saturday. Just a couple things I want you to know about a Super Saturday. Yes, there is a presentation that we start with a business overview at every Super Saturday, because it's another opportunity for you and your whole team to bring their guests. This is also where I highly encourage, if you don't have the spouses coming on the weekly basis, because maybe the spouse or the partner is taking care of the kids so that the partner can do this. This Super Saturday is the big moment. Get that spouse, get that partner, get that buy-in from family members, bring them to the Super Saturday. That's where they're going to hear from the attorneys. They're going to hear from a ring earner. They're going to hear from a Millionaire Club member. That's where we do the recognition of who's winning in the marketplace. And it's so powerful to bring your guests into that environment, to bring your associates into that environment, to bring your family members into that environment. And I want to say something else about this. It's not supposed to be near your house. Coming out of COVID, I've heard so many people say, well, there's no Super Saturday near me. Nobody said it was going to be near you. They don't consult you to see where to put the convention every year either. The Super Saturday is going to be where it makes the most sense in the region. And you might not live where it makes the most sense. And you know what? If you do live 10 minutes from the Super Saturday, you're at a disadvantage. Honestly, you are. Because taking your team and putting them in a car and driving to that Super Saturday is part of the experience. I hope it's an hour from you. I hope it's 4 hours away from you. It's only once a month. And it's a great opportunity to bond with your team. And if you start going to the Super Saturday because you're doing 2 presentations a day, you have a weekly meeting cadence, You're going to have people going to Super Saturday, even if it's 4 hours away. You're going to have a car and then 2 and then 3 cars of people going. I can't tell you how ridiculous we felt. Bill and I and Walt Wade and Sean McMurray and all these folks from Vermont, from rural, deep in the woods, Vermont, where we started this meeting, driving down 4 hours plus to Manhattan, 34th Street, under the awning of Madison Square Garden, where we couldn't even like navigate. Like we couldn't even believe what it cost to park. And we'd go into this giant building full of thousands of people looking and feeling like backwoods hillbillies. But that was half of the fun, the drive down, and then the inspiration we'd get from Cliff Malloy and all the other people that spoke at that Super Saturday local event. We see that it wasn't just us. It wasn't just the group of us that was coming out of Rutland, Vermont. It was 2,000 people had come from the tri-state area, and this was a real business, and we were part of something special. And we'd go home with that energy, and we wouldn't sleep. We would talk and strategize and build for the future off of that event. You don't want the Super Saturday in your own backyard. You want the luxury of having to drive to it. Now I'm going to go quickly through these because I know that you can review this stuff too. But here's what I wanted to say about number 6, helping your new associates get started right. If you ever find yourself saying, I know that's how they told you that we do it, but here's how we do it in our team, you're off track. Even if you have a better way of doing it, you're off track. You're breaking the rules of duplication. Like if you recruit me onto the team and I go to the Fast Start class and I learn about the Prospect app, I'm like, this is cool. And I come back to you and you say, oh yeah, but on our team, we don't use that. We have a different website we use. You have thrown water on my fire and you might get me all the way out of the business. I've seen it happen plenty of times. So you might have something in your team that is special and that you are proud of. But I promise you this, it isn't the people with the best cool thing that have the biggest team, that make the most money. It just is not. Because what you want is to be honoring the system, and the system is the tools that come from the company. You know why? Because at that Super Saturday event with 75 other people, that's halfway across the country from you, you want your new team member to say, you know what, this Prospect thing is the best thing for me to use, but I got a couple questions. And there's 75 people in the room that can answer that question. Or you've got some other thing that only you do. And your person's all the way across the country at a Super Saturday, they're hearing about Prospect and they're saying, well, I don't understand. Why don't we use Prospect? And they're confused, and a confused mind does nothing. Or they have questions about how to use your fancy, cool tool, and the only person they can get help with from that is you. They can't call the 700 people that work in Ada, Oklahoma in our home office. They can't ask the people in the local marketplace that have been in the business 5 years or 10 years or 20 years how to do something, because you've got a secret way. And even if your secret way is better, you're ruining your own business by doing it that way. I hope that's clear. All right, number 7 is the International Convention. And I know on the screen it says Charlotte, North Carolina, because I didn't take the time to update this slide, but I'm telling you this, if you're not coming to Oklahoma City next year, keep it to yourself. For the sake of your own business, I mean, you should be there. I don't know what could possibly keep you away from there. You have to do that. You have to do what you want your team to do. You want your team at that event. My sponsor, and he didn't like introduce me to the business. I saw the business. I was looking for a sponsor. Back then you couldn't just join on someone's website, or I would have joined the guy who told me about it, but he wouldn't call me back. Then another guy wouldn't call me back. And so I finally just called the home office and I said, I just want to do this. Can I please do this? And they gave my contact information to Greg Abrams, and thankfully Greg called me and he signed me up, but he didn't do a whole heck of a lot other than that. And he wasn't a very good sponsor on what we're talking about right now, because it didn't take me very long, me and Bill, to notice that he wasn't doing any of the things he told us to do. So we lost respect for him. We stopped asking him for help. We went around him. We didn't believe in his leadership. So we sought out other leaders instead. This great thing about this business, you don't have to have a great sponsor, because it's a great business and it's full of great mentors, and they're all standing ready and they don't care if you're in their downline or not. So we went and looked for other mentors because he wasn't at the International Convention. He would tell us about a team event, but he wouldn't show up at it. He would have excuses for why he couldn't be there. And after a little while, you just start to realize that those excuses are lies. He was one of the people that the filter didn't catch. But I'm grateful that he was there to sign my agreement so that I could be in this business. And I'm here today. Now, he's not in the business anymore because he didn't honor the 10 core commitments. Eventually, he fell so far out of the business that he canceled his membership or let it expire. But either way, he's missed out on the downline that our organization has built because he wasn't honoring what makes this business work. And I'll just say this about retaining your members because I'm totally out of time. Listen, these are your members. These are assets in your book of business. These are people that will keep their membership for years and decades if you take care of them. And you can spend 5 extra minutes on the front end, making sure your new member has the app downloaded, talking to them about getting their will done, helping share stories about how you've used the plan, helping them visualize how they would use the plan, asking for referrals. All of that takes 5 minutes or 10 minutes when you sell the plan. And it's a lot easier than when the person ends up on the pre-cancel list because they got a new credit card and their credit card declined because they got a new number. And now you're chasing them down and trying to find them and trying to get a hold of them when they've forgotten who you are. You know why they forgot who you are? Because the last time they heard from you was when you sold them the plan. Do your members care? Do they know that you care? Do they think that you care? And sometimes those members are our associates. And they have to, the way you show that your associates that you care is you honor the 10 core commitments, you teach it, you live it in front of them out loud, and you show them what you're doing. But you can retain your members much easier by what you do on the front end than by panicking on the back end. Number 9, find a workout partner. When I'm talking about you, I'm talking about you, right? You got to find people to run with and be careful, not people that say they want to run, but I'm giving you what it is to do this business right here. I gave you the zeroed in, the lockbox, number 3 and number 4 of the non-negotiables if you want to build this thing. But if you're going to have a workout partner, do it temporarily to see if what they're saying is true. If they mean what they're saying and their activity is in alignment with the words coming out of their mouth. Because if not, you don't want to be tied to somebody long-term that isn't really going where you're going. Find a workout partner that's where you are and wants to go where you want to go. Because it's more fun 2x2 and 4x4. Find groups of people that you can support each other. That's the great thing about this tech today. You know, we have Facebook Messenger groups and websites and all these different ways we can communicate instantly. Not to do the business differently, but to be able to communicate faster and to feel more connected while we're doing the business the right way. Find a workout partner, be a workout partner, be a good workout partner, show up in the lives of people around you and allow them to show up in yours too. And number 10, I'll wrap with this because it's the end, be here a year from now. Here's what I'll say about this. Some of you were with us in Charlotte. I hope you were there Thursday morning when I talked about this, but it's our turn, ladies and gentlemen. The pioneers, Dave Savula, Wilburn Smith, Harlan Stonecipher, Ken Moore, so many others, they have either grown old and weary and deserve their retirement, or they have left the earth. This is ours now. They have handed this over to us to take it forward. They did the hard stuff, okay? They did this business when nobody knew if it was going to last another week or another month or another year. They did this business when lawyers were threatening us and suing us to stop us from doing this. They did this business when it wasn't evident what we were trying to do was a good thing. These people did this business with a phone bolted to the wall. They did this business with no technology. They did this business one customer at a time, one relationship at a time, so that we could have what this is today. We don't have to apologize for this business. We don't have to explain why we're doing this business. What we have is very clear when people see it. It's our turn. So number 10, it says be here a year from now. I believe it's behave today and every day, if you're committed, as if you're going to be here a year from now, and ask that of your team. Like, are they going to be here a year from now? Well, what are they doing today? Because somebody that says they're going to be here a year from now, but isn't reading 10 pages of a good book, I don't buy it. Because they're not even willing to develop themselves, maybe just to be a better spouse, maybe just to be a better member of their church community, maybe just to be an entrepreneur in a different pursuit, maybe to be better at their art, better at their passions, better at parenting. They should be reading and learning to get better if they're going to be here a year from now. They should be doing 2 presentations a day. Now, it might take you a couple days after a training like this to wrap your mind around, I'm going to do it, make the commitment, and then do it and never look back. But if you're going to be here a year from now, why wouldn't you do 2 presentations tomorrow and 2 presentations on Wednesday and 2 presentations on Thursday and go to a meeting this week and go to a meeting next week and keep doing 2 presentations? If you're going to be here, why would you want to be here a year from now? If a year from now you haven't done any of the things that would give you the success that being here a year from now would be worth. I want you to look back. When we go, listen, we'll go to that convention. It'll be about a year from now. It's about a year from now this week, about 52 weeks away. And I want you to be so gosh darn proud about what you did. And I just want you to leave it all on the field. I mean, I don't know you all. You don't know me. I'm begging you. Let this be the thing where you just leave it all on the field. You don't have to quit your job. You don't have to ignore your kids or your family. But for the time and energy you can give this, gosh, just give it all that you can. But do it right. This is doing it right. This is the path to becoming a millionaire in this business. And by the way, some of you, it'll be $1 million a year. Some of you, it'll take you 5 or 10 years to earn your first $1 million. So what? Your life will change when Legal Shield puts $1 million in your checking account. Whether it takes a year or a decade, your life will change. You will never look back because of the way that this business pays residual income. But that's not the most important reason. The most important reason is because to become a Millionaire Club member in this business, for most of us, requires us to become somebody different than we were when we got here. And I can't wait for you to meet the version of you that walks the stage as the next Millionaire Club member in this company. Folks, thanks so much. This has been Millionaire Monday. Be back with you next week. It's been my absolute pleasure to be here with you. I'm going to say goodbye, but I'll leave the chat on for a few minutes so you can say goodbye to each other as well. And I'll put the replay of this up as soon as possible. Thanks again.